Hello, everybody. This is Ethan with WiseCrack Studios, and today I wanted to talk about guitar solos. What makes them cool, and how you can make your own sound better without really knowing a whole lot of music theory. I know music theory, and I know how it can seem intimidating from the outside, so I'm going to try and show how these ideas can work in the real world without a whole lot of knowledge behind them. Now, the first way to make a good guitar solo is probably going to be the easiest overall. You just take the main melody of the song, probably the vocal melody from the chorus, and you play it on your guitar with as many or as few embellishments as you want. In this example right here, I did exactly that, and it works perfectly as a simple solo that adds energy to the song and helps to take the attention away from the singing for a second so that the instruments can have a second in the spotlight. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this real quick. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, this is a cover of Carole King's Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow that I put on the channel fairly recently, about a month, 2 months ago. But something that you can already tell based on this solo is the melody line, specifically the melody line for the chorus. If you only heard this section, you would still be able to hum the main melody to the song. You may not know the words, but you could go away humming it, and that's sort of the goal of this sort of method. It's just to reinforce that same idea. Now, hopefully you also noticed the bends that I was adding into the solo. I kind of wanted to embellish the fact that this was being played on a guitar, and since I sing with a very straight tone and don't really scoop all that much or lean into notes in that way, I sort of wanted to use bends to accentuate the fact that this melody was being played on a guitar at this point. I always consider this option the easiest way to write a guitar solo simply because, well, your melody already exists. It can get very complex really quickly, but it becomes a lot simpler just by listening to whatever the singer is doing. Now, be sure whenever you work with this idea that you take some time to see if there's little things that you can do that could embellish the solo to make it sound a little bit better, and just make sure that those things that you're adding aren't actually taking away from the energy of the song. Alright, so this next idea is going to be based around counter melodies. Now, counter melodies are where we do start dipping our toe into music theory. If the melody is the main idea of the song, then the counter melody is, well, it's a different melodic idea. Think something like the main lead guitar line for just about any song that Eric Clapton has worked on, or solos by most blues guitarists in general. Typically in these situations, one melody can be considered the actual melody of the song, and another can be a counter melody, provided that it plays by itself typically. There's really a whole lot that's going on here, but like I said, I'm trying to keep it simple. Now, an easy way to make a counter melody is to take a melody from a different song entirely, preferably in the same key, and change it to fit the chord structure of the song that you're playing, which is exactly what we did right here. Now, this song is from a concept album, and is supposed to be from the perspective of the antagonist of the overall story. So to help tie it back to the protagonist, just so that you have that moment of, oh, I know that sound, we brought in their motif from a previous song, shortened it, and cranked the amp up to 10. From there, we played around with ways to make the solo sound a little cooler, and in particular, sort of the main thing that we narrowed it down to for that was using a tremolo picking style. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It can be really cool. Add it to some stuff if you want to. If you play a more slow melodic style, maybe don't add it to things, but it can be cool nonetheless. But overall in this song, between the melody from a different song altogether and the tremolo picking, it added a nice counter melody that we were able to use to help tell the overall story of the album. So let's go ahead and listen to that real quick, just to sort of see what I'm talking about. And you can sort of hear how it's very, very effect heavy through the entire thing. That wasn't on accident, that was very much planned, and we just kept adding more and more things to it to make it stick out better in this very, very wall of sound song. Now, this last style of writing a solo is simultaneously the easiest and the hardest way to write a guitar solo. And it's basically just to make a section where there's going to be a solo and play something that sounds cool. I know. Very out there concept. Overall, this sounds like it's going to be the easiest way since there isn't too much planning involved, but in reality, it tends to be the hardest. This can tie itself back into being a counter melody, but oftentimes, if you already have a counter melody in the song, it ends up just being something entirely different. This is the kind of basic writing where some very basic music theory knowledge can come in handy, but tends to not always be necessary. If you want ideas how it can help you though, I recommend knowing your chords and looking up ways to use non-chord tones like neighbor tones, passing tones, escape tones, that sort of stuff. For this song I have pulled up right here, we accounted for a solo in the song and left room for it. Then we quite literally put the song on loop and kept going again and again and again and again until we had something that sounded cool. Stopping pretty much only when we heard something that we liked and wanted to try to keep that in the solo. So let's listen to this one real quick because it is really cool. I still love it. So that solo is one take, but it's one take out of more than 30. I don't remember how long it took, but I do remember the first 5 or so takes sounding absolutely nothing like this, and especially like that first bend that descends back down was something the guitarist had never even thought to do. It was something that I said I could hear working well in the start of the solo, and what he even did didn't sound anything like what I wanted it to be, but it sounded so cool that we kept it in, and honestly it sounds a lot better than what I think I had originally wanted. So these are a few ideas I like to work with whenever I try to write a guitar solo. Hopefully this will be helpful for you, and if you want me to talk more about this topic, go ahead and leave a like, and if there's something else you want me to talk about, please just go ahead and leave a comment. It helps YouTube show these videos to more people, and it helps me know what you guys want to see. So hopefully I've just given you something to think about for your own songs. As for me, this has been Ethan with WiseCrack Studios, and I hope that you have a lovely day.